Hello, in this video we're going to learn about supporting details and how they're used to support the main idea and topic of a paragraph, subheading, chapter, or book. As we've already discussed in previous videos, being able to locate or state a main idea is critical to improving your comprehension. Likewise, having the ability to locate details and recognize major details from minor details is important. Being able to identify key examples, details, events, and pieces of evidence are all essential to identifying a main idea or a central argument. I like to think of the structure of a paragraph, subsection, or chapter of a textbook visually. So we start off identifying the topic. I usually do this before I read by looking at the title of what I'm about to read, or often the first sentence, just to kind of see if it gives me any clues as to what it's going to be about. I know that the topic is going to be directly related to the main idea of what I'm reading. As I read, I try to connect what I'm reading to the topic and look for the author's purpose and tone. So I kind of come up with the main idea as I go. Sometimes it's very obvious, it's clearly stated in the text. And oftentimes when I find it as I'm reading in the text, because it's so obvious, I underline it just so that I can continually look back up in my text and remember that, oh, this relates to the main idea this way, this relates to the main idea that way. Authors use details to help the reader understand or gain meaning related to the main idea. Oftentimes, the more complicated a topic and a text is, or main idea is, the more detail the author will need to provide to help you have an understanding of it. Authors may include as many details as they want, depending upon their purpose and how specific they want to be. But one thing is true, all supporting details should lead you directly back to support the main idea and the topic. So if there's a detail that doesn't match up with what you're reading about, then the author should probably have not included that in their writing because it's not related. Sometimes an author will outline key details, which we would call a major detail, and then they give an explanation or an example of that major detail. Those explanations or examples of a detail are what we would call a minor detail. But again, the minor details will support the major detail, which supports the main idea and is related to the topic. So you can kind of see that it's all interconnected, all related together when we're dealing with non-fictional or informational text. Hello, in this video we're going to learn about supporting details and how they're used to support the main idea and topic. As we've already discussed in a previous video, being able to locate or state a main idea is critical to improving comprehension. Likewise, having the ability to locate details and recognizing the difference between a major detail and a minor detail is very important. Being able to identify key examples, details, events, and pieces of evidence are all essential to identifying main ideas or central arguments as we read. I'd like to think of the structure of a paragraph or subsection or chapter of a textbook visually. So we start off by identifying the topic. I usually do this before I read when I preview the text by looking at the title and the subheadings and kind of getting a general sense of this whole chapter is going to be about this topic. I know that the topic is going to be directly related to the main idea. As I read, I try to connect what I'm reading to the topic and also the purpose that the author wrote this chapter or article or passage. I'm trying to put that all together to kind of come up with what that purpose was. If I find the main idea as I'm reading clearly stated, like the author says, in this chapter we'll be studying the impact of photosynthesis on animals in their habitat, I know that that's my clearly stated topic sentence or main idea, and I'm going to underline it so that I can continually look back to that main idea and connect all of the information that follows it back to it so that it's all connected in my thinking. Authors use details to help readers understand or gain meaning related to the main idea. Oftentimes, a more complicated topic or main idea will require that an author use more detail to be able to get their point clearly across. Authors can use as many or as few details as they see fit. It really depends upon their purpose as to how many supporting details that they'll use. But one thing is true of all details is they should directly support the main idea and topic. Sometimes authors will differentiate their details. They'll have key or major details or major points outlined in their writing. And then after that major detail, they'll provide an explanation or example or illustration of that major detail. Those explanations and illustrations or examples are what we would call a minor detail. In other words, it's just giving more clarification and a bigger picture of that detail that is supporting the main idea. Let's practice breaking the following passage down. So go ahead and pause the video and read this short passage. While you're reading, try to locate the topic, main idea, and any supporting details that you can find. As I read the article, I determined that the topic was about dogs. I figured this out by reading the title of this passage and also that first sentence. Both of those kind of clued me in that we're going to be talking about dogs. After I read through the whole article and thought about the tone and the purpose that the author was using in this article, I located that main idea in that second paragraph. This whole thing basically is outlining key characteristics that have made dogs ideal companions to humans. So that's kind of the main idea. All of the support that the author provides below goes back to supporting those key characteristics. So once I've kind of identified that major the main idea, I go through and I look for my main ideas. And this author uses major detail and minor detail. For me, I located 3 major details. Those details included loyalty, awareness, and courage. And after each one of these major details, the author gives minor details. He talked about, you know, the Japanese Akita Hachiko. He talked about, you know, different breeds of dogs that have this ability to be aware of their surroundings and intruders and people's intentions. And then he also talked about this dog named Haas that was courageous in protecting his family. And so in this particular passage, if I were to outline it, I'd have the dogs as the topic, I'd have my main idea, key characteristics that make dogs good companions, and then I'd have my major details, loyalty, awareness, and courage, and then those examples or illustrations underneath each of those major details. So I have major details and minor details. Let's practice using the passage that we had in the main idea video on photosynthesis at the grocery store from OpenStack's biology textbook. Go ahead, pause the video and refresh your memory about what this article was about, and then we'll come back and go through it. As you will recall, the topic of this passage was photosynthesis at the grocery store, and the main idea was located down there at the very bottom. Photosynthesis is basically connected to everything that we eat or consume. And so we go back up to inside the article. I'm going to start looking for examples of things or evidence to support that main idea. Photosynthesis is connected to every meal that we eat and all of our food. And I locate a few as I go. So in this first or in the second paragraph, it starts off and It lists meats and dairy are linked to photosynthesis. It lists breads and cereals and pastas that are found in grocery stores that are linked to photosynthesis. It goes on to talk about desserts and drinks and how sugar is all linked back to plants and the photosynthesis process. He also goes into detail about how things that we don't necessarily think about being related to photosynthesis, such as paper goods and plastics coming from algae, and the spices that we eat, all coming from different parts of plants, which grow based upon photosynthesis. And so if I were to outline it, it would look something like this. We have the topic, we have our main idea there, and then there are all of the key details to support that main idea. I didn't really break that one apart in major minor details, which you don't necessarily have to do as an author. I just they were all kind of put in there in an order that just lended itself to supporting the main idea. Being able to identify topics, main ideas, and major and minor details are one of the key foundations of being able to comprehend text. It's very important that you practice this skill and become good at identifying main ideas and their supports. It's used during discussions in classes. It's used while you read to gain understanding and comprehension. It's used to study for tests to be able to identify the key concepts that have been covered in a class. So becoming really expert at identifying main ideas and the things that support those main ideas is crucial in being a successful college student and a successful reader. The next time you have a book and then you're reading it, take a moment and try to diagram it out like I've done here in this video to identify the topic, main idea, and the details. It will really help you improve your reading.